Yes, sir. How are you, dude? Welcome to the stream.
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me here.
Of course, I'm gonna be honest, man. I wasn't sure if you were gonna come when I made that first tweet. I thought I was gonna be tweeting for weeks.
Oh,
Instant reply. It was awesome.
but yeah, I just saw it. Well, somebody sent it to me and said, oh, "Why not?" Yeah,
I fucking love it. I appreciate
yeah.
you for coming on, dude. I feel like right now, and look, we have a lot to talk about. We're gonna get into everything. There's a lot going on. I feel like right now is like the most active you've ever been on Twitter. Like you're firing right now.
No, I was way more active before when I was, yeah. But now, just in the last week, there was just a lot of stuff happening.
Uh-huh.
But when I was running Binance, I was on Twitter way more. Now I travel a lot, and then when I travel, I just, yeah. But the last couple of days, there was just so much stuff happening. So yeah,
So there is a lot happening right now. We'll get into
yeah.
all of it. And I mean, dude, this morning I woke up and Twitter was going absolutely crazy over this Jeff tweet. What's the lore on that? Twitter was going nuts. You quote tweeted, I think it was from 2018, one of the cohorts. Jeff from Hyperliquid was in it, and yeah, Twitter went crazy today. Like, what's the lore on that?
I don't know him, and I don't think I ever met him in person. So look, I wasn't very involved with all the cohorts in the Binance Season 1 Labs incubation projects. So I don't think I ever met him in person, at least not that I know of. And it was only early this year, Ella told me, look, he was the Season 1 cohort and said, do I want to chat with him? I was like, yeah, let's chat with him, find out like what's going on. I don't think he was ready for invest. We were not trying to. We didn't discuss a deal. There was no deal that was ever proposed. No, like they were already pretty big. So they kind of we like to invest in early projects. Like we like to get in early. That's why we do incubations. We do easy residencies, etc. We like to help them grow.
Mhm.
So I think it was more of a casual chat. Unfortunately, I overslept because I set my alarm clock wrong. So no, and then we didn't. I think because there wasn't a specific purpose to the meeting, so we didn't really bother rescheduling it. So that was that, really. Yeah.
Hey, be honest. Be honest. Do you regret missing that meeting?
No, no, no. It wasn't. I At the time it was only a few months ago, so it wasn't like super early. So
Okay,
it
okay,
was
okay.
like a couple of months ago. They're already, valuable, extremely successful. I don't think it was the right target for us to. We don't make huge acquisitions, right? So we don't make huge. And well, I think the largest one we've done to date is probably CoinMarketCap. That was a couple $100 million.
Well,
So I think they were already beyond that. So yeah, so there wasn't an agenda, and so that's why we probably didn't really bother to reschedule it. He's busy, I'm busy. So that was that. It wasn't like, oh, we're trying to get a deal
yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah.
It wasn't like that. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I had to ask. Twitter was going crazy this morning.
Yeah.
But I think to start, like, I kind of want to ask you, CZ. I want to know like what your goals are from this point. And the reason I ask it to sort of set it up is, I mean, look, you quote tweeted that I think it was Forbes that was estimating your net worth, and you said it was a little bit high, but objectively, you're one of the richer people in the world. I don't think anyone can argue you're one of the titans ever to come through crypto. And I mean, you're kind of fresh out of jail, and you're on the timeline right now. You're on Twitter, and you're going really hard. Like I'm just curious what your goals are and like why you are sort of doing what you're doing right now.
Sure. So I think yeah. So before I was like, I was never that money driven. Like the Binance success happened so quickly that it didn't allow me the stepwise increases in sort of learning about wealth, enjoying it, etc. And I was busy the whole time. Like I was very busy. Like very it grew so quickly that we were on firefighting all the time for the first couple of years, and then we were dealing with the U.S. government for a few years, and it was stressful. And then look, so for me, it was like I come from a fairly humble beginnings, and even so. So I was never used to a luxury life, and I was fine. I'm very functional. I like everything that functions. I don't care about I wear like cheap clothes, but
Mm-hmm.
they work. They're comfortable. I sit on normal chairs. I don't need a super expensive chair. I don't need a super expensive watch. Like I just don't have those things. right? So I wore a Garmin watch, which is like a, I don't know, $300 watch. It works. So and then also like because Binance went from like zero to like the world's largest crypto exchange in 5 months, and then in about from 7 months, Forbes put me on their cover, right? And was like, and my friends like, oh, you must be really rich. I'm like, I don't feel rich. Like I got zero. I didn't have a lot more money. So I didn't go through the steps. When people go through the steps, they become $10 million. Now they start buying watches and cars, and then become $100 million. They buy big fancy houses. $200 million. They buy yachts, and then I didn't go through that progression. It just went from zero to like cover of Forbes. I'm like, what? And I didn't feel it. So nothing's changed for me. I didn't cash out. I don't have more money in my bank. I don't have more in my wallet. So I get a little bit more now in my wallet than before, right? But those are not like billions of dollars of like billions and billions of dollars like they talk about. So I didn't develop that. And then in terms of what I want to do, so I'm not poor. And I think, look, I don't need to prove that. So I'm okay with a one-trick pony, of being a one-trick pony. So I don't need to be a serial successful entrepreneur. Like I think I did well. I made some mistakes, but I didn't make serious mistakes. Like there's no fraud, no users got hurt. So I protected all our users, all the BNB investors, all the team members who have shares in the company. I think the team did well. I protected the platform that we built. I took responsibility for the things, for my mistakes, and I took it head on, right? So, and then when I was in jail, I was like, thinking about what's important. In jail, actually really clears your mind. Um, you figure out, number one, health is really important. If you're not healthy, then nothing matters. And in jail, you don't have very good access to doctors, unless you're dying on the floor. Like they don't care, right? So you got to eat healthy, sleep well, and luckily I got nothing else to do. So it's like, it's actually quite good. And then it's like, okay, what do you miss the most? Everything's taken away from you, right? So you miss your family, you miss the people. So it's the human connection that you miss. And then after that, everything else is secondary. I miss the food, I miss the comfortable bed, but you can deal with that. Those are secondary. And so after came, like even before I went to jail, it's like it was very clear that I couldn't do Binance anymore. Well, I cannot run Binance anymore. I'm still a shareholder. Um, and then I thought, okay, so what would be exciting for me? What would make me happy? So I thought about this long and hard. I think animals are genetically selected or engineered to want to help the same species. So when you can take care of yourself, helping others make yourself feel better, right? So if I'm hungry, then I got to take care of that. If I'm cold, then I need a place to shelter. But once I take care of myself, helping others make me feel good. And then I was thinking about, okay, what's the best way to help others, right? So at that point, look, I already pleaded guilty to a U.S. federal crime, so I don't care about reputation. Like my reputation is already like kind of damaged in a lot of senses. But at the same time, I do care about my credibility. I didn't hurt any users, right? So I didn't hurt anybody. Do I care more about power? I already stepped down from Binance, right? And so fame and power, do I care more about more money? Like I didn't spend that much money. I haven't spent like even a small portion of the money that they claim I have. So I'm like, okay, if those three things doesn't matter, what matters to me? What matters to me, I think, is when I'm old, I want to know that I did my best to help others, right? So as long as I'm happy with myself when I'm old, then I did my best. So that's kind of what I care about. And then with that, it's like, okay, what's the maximum impact, positive impact that I could do? All right. So if my ability is high, I'll do more. If my ability is low, I'll do less. So I thought, education is a really good one because that can infinitely scale if we build a digital platform that can educate everybody. And so we continue to work on that. And then after like I got out of jail and took me a few months, like that experience stays with you for that. It took me a few months to get more active on Twitter, to talk to people more normally. So I stayed at home with family, etc. After a few months, I was okay. Well, I can still run the investment part of our portfolio, right? So that's nothing to do with Binance.com, the exchange.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'll run. No, I will get involved in Binance Labs. We said, okay, just to make the distinction clear, we're rebranded. And then like I'm very committed to the BNB chain ecosystem, obviously. So again, that has nothing to do with a centralized exchange. So I get there, we invest, we help other founders. So for me now, I'm just very happy to help other founders to be successful. So I'm happy to be a coach, cheerleader, however you call it. So that's kind of what I do. Yeah.
So on the back end of that, given the position you sit in and your history in crypto, do you feel like a sense of responsibility for how the industry plays out from here?
No, I don't feel so first of all, I don't feel that grand. I don't think anyone can feel responsible, single-handedly responsible for crypto and the industry. I think the industry will be fine. The industry will go through winters. It will go through cycles, but each cycle is higher than the next one. So I think the industry will be fine. I'm not that grand. I want to contribute. And if I look at what I know, where I have influence, what I can contribute to, it's in crypto, right? So this is where I spend quite a lot of my time today talking with people. My network is also here, and everyone wants to talk to me about crypto. The crypto guys come to me, and the AI guys, well, a few of them come to me, but they don't come to me in the same way. The biotech guys we invest, we have to go to them because, and I also don't know that space that well.
Yeah.
So in crypto, I would like to continue. I definitely will continue to make my contributions, but I don't think I'm responsible for crypto or that's too much. So I think there are many strong players, people who are contributing to crypto. So yeah, but I'm just part of it. Yeah.
I didn't mean to put the future of the industry on your shoulders there, but I was curious. You know, before we get into some of the more specific meme, Aster, perp deck stuff, I want to ask you, like, I think crypto Twitter, specifically the on-chain sort of trenches side, if you will, it's in a little bit of a weird place, right? Like you look at, Bitcoin just made a new ATH. It's a couple percent off today, and you scroll the timeline on crypto Twitter, and it's kind of in shambles. And if you zoom out, a lot's happened with crypto. We have the Trump admin, which has really adopted crypto. We have ETFs on on Bitcoin, on Sol, on ETH, on every major crypto asset. Every TradFi institution in the world is adopting stable coins. And so from the outside looking in, crypto, I mean, it's one, right? Mainstream adoption has happened. It's infiltrated every vertical of the world. And then on chain, I think is sort of in a little bit of a weird spot where the meme coin thing really happened. It's still happening, but not at the same scale that it was. And I think there's just a little bit of a stalemate where people are unsure on the retail on chain side, what's next and what to believe in. Like, what is sort of your optimistic North Star vision for where on chain can go from here?
Yeah. So yeah, I think I agree with you. Well, but I think the problems you described are there's some issues, but they're largely good because that means the industry is getting bigger. So before, in 2013, 14, everyone's in Bitcoin. It's called the Bitcoin industry back then, right? It's not really crypto or blockchain industry. It's just Bitcoin. And then 2017, I think Ethereum was there, and then there was some reasonable altcoins, and Ethereum has like the ERC20 token thing, and then everyone's doing ICOs, and there's way more projects, and that caused a boom. 2021, there was DeFi, NFTs, etc. DeFi stayed. NFTs become much smaller. They're still there, but much smaller from the top. And this time around, no, as you said, we're seeing a lot more. We're seeing ETFs. We're seeing memes. We're seeing stable coins. We're seeing RWAs. So there's we're seeing DATs. So that's a lot more now, which is good. I think the industry is getting bigger. But I also see that, yeah, as you said, the industry is, number one, is more divided, both in terms of sectors of industries, different cohorts of players, and different regions. So there's a bit more division, but I think that's a matter of size, right? So the industry is bigger, and I think there are more because there are more institutional play. So now the government's coming in, institutions are coming in, Wall Street's coming in, national reserves are coming in. There's more different types of players, and many of those players are what we call traditional players. So there's now a mix of real ultra libertarian OGs versus somewhere in the middle. That's kind of where I fit. And then there's sort of newcomers into the space. So there's different opinions. And then there's the meme traders versus utility coin traders versus Bitcoin maxis versus other people, et cetera, et cetera. So we see more groups. But look, it's a decentralized ecosystem, right? So we should welcome everyone to participate. And there should be a lot of diversity. There should be debates. There should be some friction somewhere, and there should be competition. There should be collaboration as well. So for me, I'm always very used to this sort of new areas, chaos, etc. So I'm open to very open spaces. So very open industries. So I think all of this is good. We should support everyone. We should try to help everyone. Yeah.
I like the take. It is weird to see like Bitcoin make a new ATH and then you scroll the Twitter timeline and everyone on a 1% dump and everybody's in shambles. It's like what the fuck's going on? But that's just where we are in 2025. I guess speaking of Bitcoin, you went on Farouk's podcast, I think 5-ish months ago now. Shout out to Farouk. I think he did a great job. And you gave a Bitcoin price prediction of $500K to $1 million. Can we get an update on that? How do you feel about it now?
I still feel reasonable about it now. So I think, usually, if you look at his number one is, okay, I got to be very careful with price predictions. Number one is I don't know where it's gonna go. Like to be very frank, nobody knows. Nobody I talk to actually really knows. Price predictions are just opinions, and I think. But if you look at historically the 4-year cycles, right? So every 4 years, usually around October to December, that's where the peak is. So and based on everything we're seeing, as you said, Bitcoin is near its all-time high. It drops like 1 to 2%, and everyone panics. But it's for the guys like who have been in the industry for like 11 years. Bitcoin used to drop 50% a day, and then you'll go up 50% the next day. So this is nothing. This is very stable. So it's both different perspectives. So I'm still very positive on Bitcoin, on the overall crypto industry. And yeah, so I'm still pretty positive.
So getting a little bit more niche and talking about some of the BNB stuff is, I think there's a lot of people that watch this stream that really first came into crypto on the back end of the 2024 Solana, Memecoin, Axiom, AI season. And over the last month is probably their first experience really interacting with BNB. And my question for you is to sort of set up the stage and frame it a little bit is, how do you see in 2025 BNB Chain and where it sits relative to everything else in crypto, other chains, other infra? Like, what role is it sort of playing right now?
Yeah, I think today, if you look at the blockchain layer 1 blockchain ecosystem, right? So you have Bitcoin, which is like the reserve, the biggest chain. But Bitcoin doesn't have the programmability into it, right? It doesn't have smart contracts. So then also both Bitcoin and Ethereum are kind of saturated. So that's why the fees are generally high. They're saturated. So the performance, the bottlenecks. And then there's a BNB chain's been there for a while. BNB chain is actually 3 different technical blockchains, right? So there's a Greenfield, which is a storage chain. There's Binance, BNB Smart Chain, which is a EVM smart contract chain, and there's OPBNB, which is a layer 2. And there's actually a couple more being built, different technology architectures. So I view BNB chain as sort of the utility centric and also trading liquidity centric blockchain. Because trading liquidity, that's kind of our background, right? So that's kind of where we have all our users. That's the community. And I think Solana is very strong. It's like, but Solana is very much a memes blockchain at this point, right? So they can evolve, but right now they had a lot of meme traders. But memes on Solana in the recent little while has been quieter, and recently, just because BNB chain has more activity going on, and quite a lot of those guys came over in the last week or so. So and that's great. BNB chain, I think based on the community feedback, I think the BNB chain ecosystem, even for the meme coin community, is a little bit different because of the utility nature of the BNB chain community. They tend to be more holders. So they don't like go up and down the next day. But in the yesterday there was a big market reaction to some FUD,
Uh-huh.
which caused a lot of pain. So, but different chains are a little bit different, I think. But I think there's quite a few other blockchains that are interesting too. That's based in the US,
Mhm.
that's building. There's other blockchains that are slightly smaller in terms of activity, but they also have interesting technologies like the Move blockchains, other blockchains. No, so I think that's quite a lot. I think we're still early in the industry, so we just got to continue to build. Yeah.
I don't want to focus too much on other chains or other ecosystems, but I think, objectively, Solana and its on-chain activity is one of the primary stories of this cycle that we're currently in. Do you think BNB can beat and sustain and basically win that on-chain and meme coin activity that Solana has largely dominated up until probably this last month?
Well, number one is I think it's definitely anything's possible. It's absolutely possible. I think in the last couple of days or weeks, we have seen that there was more meme activities on BNB chain than Solana. But like no, there's I think I'm just reading news. I'm actually not in the trenches as they call it. I think there's like 5 BNB blockchain memes that reached like 100 million or 500 million or however they call it, whereas they were not on Solana, right? So I think Solana is a bit quieter. Oh, just in the last couple of weeks. But at the same time, I don't view blockchains as competing that way. I think Solana, every chain has a different history. So every chain has a different. My understanding of Solana is, look, they started a couple of years ago with FTX, and FTX went down. Solana guys got really hurt, and they did a phenomenal comeback, right? But in the comeback, like they no longer have a exchange kind of in the ecosystem. And that was also during the Biden-Gary Gensler administration. Every utility coin is being sued for security. No, it's a security, right? So BNB plus every other tokens are being sued. So if you launch a real project with a utility token, then you're going to get a lawsuit from SEC, the previous SEC. So like meme coins, we just declare there's no value. Well, there's no utility, so it's just for fun. So now it's just, and then on Solana, basically, I think at that point they didn't give a shit, right? It's like, no, we're just gonna pump and dump. So there's a platform called Pump. I think at that time, Binance, myself, we were dealing with SEC lawsuits. I think if there was a platform in our ecosystem called Pump, I would get a lot of questions being asked, like, even though that would have nothing to do with me. So we didn't have that narrative, right? So we just kind of ignored that narrative, and that's why most of the memes didn't happen on many blockchains. I think there's a little bit of history there, but Solana is a fast blockchain. It's active. It's got a good support, so I think it's a good blockchain. But right now, we are no. I spend way more time in BNB chain, right? So no, our portfolio projects now Cross Wallet supports Solana and it supports BNB chain. So most of our portfolio companies are very open. But I spend more time in the BNB chain ecosystem, obviously, and then so we invest, we help our founders build, and right now the activities are pretty lively. There are issues, there are issues every day, but I think the blockchain ecosystem is very lively. The BNB chain ecosystem is very lively right now. Yeah.
So it is, and I mean, I hear your comments on Puppet Solana. What's happening? I mean, the infra of what's happening on BNB looks very similar right now. Like there's sort of a launchpad standard, same type of thing is happening on BNB now. My question for you, as we get into the meme coin stuff, is you are on record quite a few times previously, 2024, sort of denouncing meme coins. I think you talked about it on Frok's podcast a little bit, that you're not a huge fan of meme coins. And there's a couple tweets. I don't have them. I had them saved, whatever. I don't have to read them out loud. Publicly, you've sort of been anti-meme coin before. And now, as of recent, it seems you're pretty excited about them. Like, yeah, I'm curious what changed and like why are you excited about meme coins now?
Okay, so let me make a couple minor correction. I
Okay.
wasn't anti meme coin.
Okay.
I was never anti it. I was just like, I'm not that hot into it, right? So I'm not a meme coin trader. Like, no, that's just a fact. And but I'm also not a NFT trader. right? I never bought NFTs. And also I buy very few altcoins. Like even though I support all of them, but I have Bitcoin, I have BNB, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I don't really invest in other but I support all the blockchain ecosystems, right? So Binance supports many blockchains. I work very closely with many blockchain developers, et cetera, on different blockchains. So just because I don't buy meme coins, I don't buy art, I don't buy, I don't buy paintings, I don't buy music. That's just not my thing. I'm like a very geek kind of tech function kind of guy. And I have I don't buy fancy watches. I have like digital watches that works. I play sports, and I'm in my little zone. So just because I'm not so much into art, so NFTs, memes, I never really understand them. I just don't get them that much. I'm not anti them. I'm just not deep in the trenches there. So, but I do want to support any ecosystem that's developing, right? So if the memes are what the users are all after, and is successful in other blockchains, etc., we would fund projects in those spaces, right? It's like we would invest in projects that build those platforms. So I would help I get funders coming to me and say, look, I'm building a launchpad project. I'm building a new stablecoin. I'm building a new meme trading platform. I'm building a perp DEX. I get all of that. I get like 10, 20 of those guys coming to me every single day.
Yeah.
So I just like, if I like a team, I'll help them. And then, so that's kind of how I operate. So I'm never anti meme coin, but I think now, if the meme coins are coming to BNB chain, we should welcome them, and we should make our infrastructure help them, support them, because the meme coins have actually a very interesting different needs for the blockchain. They need like fast updates. They need like very real time information. What's going, etc. So it's actually a very demanding infrastructure for infrastructure wise. So from my perspective, okay, let's help all the builders build the infrastructure to support this ecosystem. Till today, I don't think I've intentionally bought a single, well, personally bought a single meme trying to hold it, etc. I try to buy a couple of memes just to learn about it. It's not like I'm buying it for investment, right? So I'm not trying to like in the trenches try to 10x overnight. Like those are not things I do.
So one thing that's definitely happened is I think the infra and the tech on BNB, specifically for the meme coin stuff, has really caught up. And I mean, it's on par. I've traded a lot of the stuff. It's gotten really good. If this trend does continue, like how much bigger do you think the on-chain meme activity on BNB can get? Because I mean, yeah, the last month I think has been a little bit surprising to everybody.
Yeah, so I think, well, to be honest, it's very hard to predict because I think memes are very fast. Like, something comes up, everyone got into it. There's a few memes that last over time, right? The Dodge is probably one, and then but there's millions new ones created every day. Again, I'm not in what they call the literally trenches, like trying to look for meme coins, etc. So I'm not the best person to predict the market size and how it's growing. I just want to help builders build the infrastructure to support those type of activity. So I'm like, also many people confused. I was never a very good trader. So I don't trade. I don't buy and sell Bitcoin. Like, I don't try to time the market. I just buy and hold. But I come from a background where I'm a builder. I want to build tools for other people to do things. I want to make those tools good. So I want to help other builders now to build those tools. So I see younger people, they're more energy, more stamina, and more technical than I am now. So I want to help them to do that. Yeah.
What I think one thing that's happened that's a little bit different on BNB is there's been this crazy rise of the Chinese tickers. And I think a lot of people in the West are like trying to figure out, what the fuck is going on. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's very coincidental. So again, from my perspective on what happened, how that came to be is very coincidental. I think number one is I for a while I was early this year in February I was trying my first time to buy a meme coin on chain. I was using Trust Wallet. I thought like how hard can it be? Like I've used Trust Wallet before, right? So it's a pretty simple interface. I know how private keys work. So no, I use my Trust Wallet to buy. And And it was a joke, really, because everyone was laughing at me because I didn't know what I was doing. I got MEV attacked and I was not successful, etc. But I was playing. It wasn't any meaningful money. I was like, $50 or $100 or something like that. And then so I was learning through that process, and somehow everything I do, people pay a lot of attention to. So like, and it got to the point where like they asked me about the dog, my pet. I said I have a dog, and then the dog thing, there was a meme about that. And then later on, basically like, everything I tweet, anything like any picture, any icon, any kind of thing I tweet, they turn into a meme. For a period of time, I became very careful with what not to tweet. I'm not, but then it become awkward. I can't do anything, right? I want to tweet freely. And at some point I said, like, screw that. I'm just gonna tweet freely. If people want to do memes, they do memes. And then somehow that became the culture of the meme coin space on the BNB chain. And quite a lot of that is Chinese guys. And recently, He Yi, the co-founder in Binance, she's obviously much stronger in Chinese. She writes poems and stuff like she's much more literal, artistic,
Yeah.
etc. She responded to a tweet saying like, the Binance, this is the Binance life, etc. And then people like made that into a tweet. And then so this is what, like, basically early this week, I think. And then I think Tuesday or when it was like the Mid Autumn Festival. I first posted a tweet. I said like, well, happy Mid Autumn Festival, and then I deleted that. I said reposted, said happy Mid Autumn Festival. Post your best memes. I thought it would just be fun to like get
Yeah.
the community going. But of course, Mid Autumn Festival is a Chinese festival, so all the memes are Chinese, moon cakes, moon, etc. And then the tickers are like, they made tickers in Chinese,
Mm.
right? So Zhao Chang'e is like, is like a play on my name. Actually, it changed my name to a female name. And then it was quite creative, but you only understand that meme if you were Chinese. And so like that became more popular. I had a couple interactions with it, and the Chinese community kind of became more active. And then those were shooting through the roof. So then that's kind of, I think, what attracted quite a lot of the Solana communities over. That just became, and then people we have Westerners start posting, I'm on Duolingo learning Chinese. It wasn't planned. It was just like you slowly evolved into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like locked in on Google Translate, like trying to figure out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
So on the back end of all this craziness with the memes, there was this controversial launch the other night of Meme Rush, and a lot of people had a lot of thoughts on it. There was sort of this mechanism gated where you could only buy under the $1 million market cap bond if you were KYC'd on Binance. So people in the US can't really participate until a little bit later. I don't know how much you could say on it, but I guess to ask, like, what is sort of the goal with launching something like Meme Rush?
I was not involved in Meme Rush at all. So I found out that was yesterday. Yeah, I found out yesterday when the community was like, kind of in turmoil. I was like, what is this thing? Actually, even until like, I didn't even know it was called Meme Rush. And I think, and then when I saw it, I was like, okay, this doesn't, yeah, there's some issues with that, right? So it's um, first of all, when I saw it, I wasn't sure. I was just like the community. I wasn't sure what it was because I I don't spend that much time on Binance.com. I'm not supposed to run it. I can still get information, but I don't really ask most of the time. I just leave them be, right? So I didn't know that it was launching. After you launched, I didn't know what it was. And then the community was like having a reaction, and I was like, okay, so I think there was misunderstanding about what it is, right? So it wasn't like, the community understood is that now going forward, Binance.com will only list tokens from that channel, which is not true, right? Which wasn't the intention. Um, but that somehow turned to be negative for every other existing meme coin out there that the community understood. So I was as confused as everybody else. I was like, okay, what is this thing? So I started asking questions about, what is this, etc. And then I understood that it's actually a misconception. But by the time I understood it, I flew to Bahrain yesterday morning, very early morning. And on the way, just after I landed, I kind of saw it. And then I had to attend a few meetings. I met with a central bank governor there. I did a panel talk on stage. So I was like in meetings all day
Yeah.
and while this was happening. and everyone's blaming me for like selling meme coins. I was like, what's going on? So, and then by the time I understood it, and by the time they clarified everything, and the market is already like, really, really tanked. But I think this is one of the risks for meme coins, right? So they don't have price support, and they've been going up so quickly in the past few days. So, and I thought I was really shocked. And then I think but yeah, so that's really just what happened. Yeah.
So thank you for that. And I basically want to ask you one more sort of meme coin adjacent question, and we can talk about some perp stuff. Is, I was originally going to ask you, what does BNB have to do differently than Solana? And as I was just reading some tweets and thinking about this question, shout out to Frank D Gods. He has this really interesting thesis. I think he's the first person to tweet it, that BNB has this unique angle having Binance, where it basically has this like vertical stack where you could basically, a meme launches on 4meme, it gets listed on Aster, it can then get Binance Alpha, and then if it's successful enough, it can get Binance Spot. And I don't really think any other, like Solana can't really do that, Base can't, like no other ecosystem could really do that. Was that sort of vertical stack, was that intentional? And have you thought about that being an edge over why on-chain activity could get crazier on BNB?
No, well, number one, it's definitely not intentional. I think for the last the first 6.5, or the first 7.5 years, I was busy with a centralized exchange. I didn't plan any BNB chain stuff. That just happened organically. And then, I came out of jail, and then after a few months, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna spend time on the centralized exchange. So where am I gonna spend time? So I'm looking at the decentralized stuff. I think the Binance.com exchange, the biggest centralized exchange angle, is definitely an advantage, but it's not exclusive. Binance.com still lists tokens from every blockchain, from even meme coins from every blockchain. But the community does perceive there's like closeness. It's true. It's like it's one community that has quite a number of I would say common much more closely aligned in terms of most of them probably hold BNB to some extent. Most of them probably collaborate a bit more, etc. So there's definitely some advantage there. Just by it's a closer community. It's a closer community, but they're not exclusive. Nothing. Binance is not exclusively listing only BNB chain projects or tokens. Is not Trust wallets. In fact, I think the Solana blockchain ecosystem is probably more exclusive if you think about it. Phantom doesn't only support Solana. It doesn't support BNB chain. So Trust Wallet supports BNB chain, Solana, etc. Many other blockchains, right? So our ecosystem is actually more open, in my opinion. So this is why when the Solana guys want to bridge into BNB chain, they have to use Trust Wallet. They can't use Phantom. Radium only operates on Solana, I believe. Other their ecosystems are actually much more exclusive than ours. So, but we are a sort of a BNB, Binance kind of, like most of the guys hold some BNB, so they're kind of more aligned that way. So yeah, there's advantages, but it's not a closed garden. Yeah.
Since you did me a favor and came on, I'll do a favor and see what I can do with Phantom, with BNB. I'll see what I can do, Mr. CZ.
We welcome them to support BNB chain. Yeah. Aster, etc. Yeah.
So we talked about meme coins, and I think the other sort of obvious story of this cycle has been the rise of the perp DEXs. And I want to talk about Aster a little bit. And I guess a good way to segue in is, why do you think there's been, I mean, I guess they've always been big, but particularly right now, this rise of perp DEXs in crypto, and what do you attribute all of Hyperliquid's like early success to?
Sure. I think, well, number one is perp DEX is not super new, right? There was DYDX, there was many other things. There was even other things before that. But I think Hyperliquid is quite good in terms of the way all the transactions are traceable on chain and leverage the vault thing. And they were quite good at marketing. They got James Wayne putting $1 billion orders there. So it's just like a lot of hype. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. But I always thought, traders needs their own trading privacy, right? Every single trader on Wall Street that I talk to do not want other people to see their orders in real time. Afterwards, maybe okay. Even afterwards, they probably don't like people seeing their orders because people can reverse engineer their algorithms. And once they do, they will attack it. So in my mind, if you know exactly how another person is going to trade, there's always one way to trade against them for them to lose money, right? So for me, that transparency aspect never made that much sense. That's just 20 years of my experience in the trading industry on Wall Street, crypto, centralized exchange, etc. That just doesn't make sense. I just can't get over that. So I posted a tweet, I think early June this year, like maybe 3-4 months ago. And I got 30 incoming pitches on that day. And then Aster says, look, we can implement this hidden order. I was like, go for it. And some other guy says, okay, we can do a complete privacy DEX. So go for it. So I actually invest in a bunch of them. So and then so that's kind of like, I do think, especially given the relative volumes, I think if not this cycle, the next cycle, in 4 years time, I think DEX will definitely rival CEX trading volumes. Yeah.
Whoa. So yeah, that was gonna be my immediate follow-up is like, how big is the total addressable market for perp DEXs? Like, what has to happen for them to flip CEXs?
So I believe there's two sort of factors in play, right?
Mhm.
I think for most people new to crypto, when they want to use an exchange, they will use a centralized exchange first.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So they want to use an email and password and customer support. So that's, they don't want to deal with the address, keys, backups, and MEVs and all this other stuff, right? When you use a DEX, you look at a lot more random strings on the screen, right? That's, you got to look at like Explorer, this and that. So I think that experience is not good for newcomers. So, and right now the centralized exchanges are nowhere near saturated the market, right? So I think 90-something% of people are not in crypto. And when those guys come into crypto, they will go into CEX first. But at the same time, after a while, the DEXs offer more product selections, more access, more random stuff like that's out there. More early, I think DEXs will give you access to more early stage tokens, coins, memes, however you have it. So that's kind of the bleeding edge, right? So, but after a while, people will, once they get comfortable with managing their own private keys, backups, security, etc., they will migrate, I think. And then, so I think in the long future, if you look at like 20, 30, 50 years out, I think that's everything will be on chain. But in the interim, depends on what speed. If there's a big rush of traditional users coming into the space, CEX will get bigger. But afterwards, it will slowly slip into DEXs, I think. Yeah. But CEX also are much more regulated, and they will have fiat channels, banking channels, etc. So those will not. The traditional financial industry is not going to disappear overnight. It's going to take probably centuries. So there's needs for both. But I do think in the future the decentralized space will get quite big.
I think that pipeline makes sense, right? Like onboard to CEX, get deeper into crypto, move over to DEX.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think has to happen for Aster to truly flip and be bigger than Hyperliquid?
Well, I think it's kind of, I think depends on the day, on the time. It's kind of happening already. I think it's the two different use cases. Even with that little feature change, it's a very different use case. I think, look, if you want to trade openly for everyone to see, you could use Hyperliquid. That's great. If you want to have a certain level of privacy, also like I also believe that Aster is more open to native deposits, right? So you can deposit native Solana tokens using Aster. You can deposit more. It supports more blockchains natively. Again, I believe it's more open. It's not. The misconception is like the Aster is a BNB chain perp DEX. It is, but it's very open. I think at the end of the day, there's so many things. I think both are new products. Both products are literally less than 1 or 2 years old. Aster is actually a derivation of Apollo X, which is an older product. So it has a bit more history, but both products are very new. And so it's the future could be anyone's. It could be a new players. Who knows? So being first doesn't always guarantee that you're always the biggest. And also sometimes being second is actually a lot better because you learn much quicker.
Yeah. Well, that's what the OpenSea dilemma, right? The OpenSea thesis. So yeah. Why couldn't Jeff and Hyperliquid just add sort of this dark pool privacy functionality? Like, do you think that's something that they will do? And does that change the Aster thesis if they do?
Well, number one is I think that definitely could. I think that I would say they should. That would be my recommendation to them. But exchanges don't compete on one feature, right? Over time, there will be different features, different philosophies, different founders have different vision. So they will copy each other. They will there will be many different features that will come out. The exchanges don't compete on single features. And then how you protect users, how you deal with mistakes, all of that, it matters. And also, both of them are going to move to L1 blockchains in the future, right? So how those are structured, what technology they use, and then once you move on to a L1 blockchain, what kind of ecosystem can you attract around that blockchain matters. So there's quite a lot more to just a single feature. So I think that's kind of what we see at this stage, but they will both evolve. Yeah.
I like that take. And something I want to ask you following up is, what do you think is the most important metric to gauge success with these perp DEXs? Like there's a little bit of controversy, right? Where DeFi Llama, who I had on the stream recently, sort of stopped tracking Aster on the back end. There's this crazy influx of volume. And I know there's, airdrop incentives, all of these things. And they sort of are like, we can't tell what's real volume, what's fake, what's wash trading, what's not. So until we can figure it out, we're going to sort of stop tracking Aster. We'll come back to it. Like, what do you think is the metric that people should pay attention to decide who's, winning the perp DEXs, if you will?
Yeah, I think it's not a single metric, right? So I think, if it was a single metric, it should be number of users plus volume. Yeah. Because I mean, this is a age-old problem, right? Even running a centralized exchange, people say, look, how do you stop wash trading? But if you think about from the exchange perspective, how do they tell if it's wash trading or not? Like two people paying trading fees, right? If you're zero fee, then that's a different thing. With an airdrop, is a little bit different too. People are like trying to farm the airdrop, right? So and that actually incentivizes them to trade more. But at what point is that wash trading or not? Again, that's a very subjective one. And I think for DeFi Llama, the smarter thing for them to do is just a level there's an airdrop going on, right? Like, no, that's the fact, right? So then that's people understand, okay, that volume has an airdrop going on. Different airdrop is very common for many projects, right? Even Hyperliquid did it, Aster's doing now. And then so there's trading volume. There's can be affected by airdrops. Number of users is the number of addresses or number of users on DEX. You don't have accounts. Yeah. You only have addresses. Like, how do you count that? People can game that too. Like one bot can run 1,000 addresses. And then there's a revenue, commission, etc. So I think you got to look at the combination. But at the end of the day, people will slowly gravitate towards for users, they will gravitate to where they can get the best price, which usually come from the DEX that have the best liquidity. Lowest fees, most stable, most secure, lowest fees. So users care about those three things, really. So nothing else matters.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask you is like, how do you even tell what is real volume? Like, is that like have a definition? Like, what does that even mean exactly?
This one actually, yeah. So I do have an idea. So for most people, if you want to buy, like, say, $1,000 of whatever token, let's say the token is available on two exchanges, just buy $500 here and $500 there, and you can compare. Like for $500, how much of this token did I get on this exchange, versus how many tokens did I get on this exchange, and then you withdraw that. and you compare that in your wallet. Then this way you will see the deposit fees, if there's any, the withdrawal fees, if there's any slippage, if there's any fees, it's what you get at the end. And many users will do this sort of not so systematically, but they get a feel, and then they stick to the ones they typically have a better experience, and they will do 1,000 times more there. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, I have sort of one segue question and then like a quick little rapid fire if you have like 10 more minutes. My segue question for you is, you sort of have this famous story where a decade plus ago, you found out about Bitcoin, you quit your job, put your net worth in it, sold your house, like went all in, right? And on-chain currently exists in this spot where, the joke is like the average hold time on Solana is like 17 seconds, right? Everyone's trading meme coins. Nobody can hold anything for any amount of time. And you full ported your net worth. I think you wrote it down for like 2 or 3 years until Bitcoin finally played out. What is the mental framework to even begin to develop conviction on a thesis like what you had with Bitcoin?
Yeah, sure. So it took me about 6 months to fully understand Bitcoin. Like I first came across Bitcoin in July 2013-ish, like summer 2013. And then it was by December that year I said, okay, look, this is the future. Now understand it. This is the future. So it takes quite a bit to get that conviction. For me, it was like, this is the future. So this is, I was like 35, 36, somewhere around there. And then, so for me, it's a life decision. It's not like, oh, I'm just gonna buy this and I'm gonna make money for the next day or next week or next 3 months, and then I'm gonna come back. This is, I was too young when the internet thing was happening. I was just out of college. And then now I'm 35. So the next thing's gonna be 15 years later. So I'll be 50, which is true, right? Now AI is all the hype. I'm 50. I'm 48. So like now I'm too old to catch that. I was like, look, I'm 35, 36 at that time. This is my time. And I'm lucky because this is the technology that will transform the future. So once you have that kind of view, this is not a like, I'm gonna make quick money for 3 months and come back kind of thing, right? So I'm just into this industry, and this is the future. And it was very clear to me once I understood the technology. There wasn't any doubt anymore. It wasn't like, oh, I'm not sure who said this and that will change my mind. Like this is the future. It's period. This industry is the future. I just got to find the right thing. And Bitcoin is the future, right? So Bitcoin is a flagship. Nothing challenges it at the time, especially. And even today, I don't think anything come close to challenging it. So for me, that conviction is always there. So I'm not there for like a quick buck. I'm not there as a trader. I'm there as, no, this is the future technology. And I'm a technologist, I'm a coder. So this is the industry I want to be in. And if I want to be in, I'm 30 something. I want to be all in because I didn't have that much cash. So I have to go all in and I have to quit my job and work in this industry. Many people think that would be very high risk. But for me, if Bitcoin went to zero, I can come back. I can get a job at a bank as an IT person. I will get a six figure salary. Like my life will be fine. So that's kind of my fallback. So I had a fallback. So even though I risk everything financially, my fallback is pretty solid. So for me, and then when Bitcoin dipped after I bought for like 2 years, and that was a bit painful. But I'm like, either I'm really wrong or everybody haven't realized this yet. But I just said, look, and I couldn't sell. Right? So if I sell, if I sell, what else am I gonna do? So I'm stuck. So I'm stuck for like basically 18 months or so, and then Bitcoin started going back up again. Once you go through the first cycle, the future cycles are easy. The future cycle is like, oh look, I bought it. I went through a $200 bear market. Maybe like then the next bear market was like, no, 3,000. Dude, I went through 200. Now it's 3,000. What are you complaining about? And now it drops to like 115, 120K. People go, oh, it's dropped. Like, dude.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, you look good for 48, man.
I think it's the lighting or something, but I do try to keep fit. So I work out. No, I do try to keep fit now. Yeah.
Okay, I got a couple rapid fire for you.
Sure.
How old were you when you made your first $1 million?
I would say probably around 2016, 2017, just before Binance, actually.
just before Binance. And where were you working in 2016, 2017?
Well, number one, the Bitcoin price went up somewhere around that time. I didn't track and calculate the whole time, and also the business BJ Tech was doing good business. So it was a B2B business, and business was very steady, and so I was barely financially free just before Binance actually.
That's awesome. Who is the most talented person that you think you've ever worked with or like had to compete against?
I work with some really smart coders. One of my first bosses, he was like 7 years older than me. He's a genius coder, but he's unreliable. Like when he really focuses, really good, but he only really focuses like maybe 5% of the time. So from him, I actually learned to be a better coder, but the more important lesson I learned is to be more reliable.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
One other thing I have for you is like, okay, really earlier in your career, you've sort of always been adjacent to trading, right? Like you worked at Bloomberg, you worked at some Tokyo exchanges, and now here we are talking about like meme coins on BNB and Solana. Like, how much has the game of trading evolved from when you first were adjacent to the scene to where we are right now?
Oh yeah, it's evolved a lot, a lot. No, in the traditional world, right? You have dedicated data centers at the stock exchange. You have colocation. The market opens for 6 hours or 4 hours a day, right? You have the morning session, the afternoon session. That's a pre-open auction market, and then 9 o'clock it opens and 3:30 it closes, and then you can do all your system maintenance afterwards when the stock market is closed. Now it's like 24/7. It's on chain. It's every minute, every second, and it's meme coins. It's totally different. The fundamental concepts are similar, but the contents are very different. So yeah. So but some of the concepts still apply, but the technology's evolved and the industry's evolved. Yeah.
So, one thing I have for you is like, if you were starting over right now, and I'm 23, so if you were 23 in
Wow.
2025, what game do you think you'd be playing right now? Whether that's in crypto, whether that's some other thing in tech, some other thing in finance, like, because there's a lot of like Solana sort of younger generation people that watch this stream. Like, what
Yeah.
vertical do you think you'd be hyper focused on right now?
Okay, so I'll give some fairly controversial advice here. So don't take my advice. Take my advice with a grain of salt. I would do startups much earlier.
Okay.
I think in the future, if you work at a desk job, like that's good, but you won't. You have, but the real opportunities in the startups. I would join startups much earlier to gain experience, and I would run the startup earlier. So again, that's super high risk. So I think when you're doing that, you should always think about the worst case, right? What's the worst case that can happen if everything went to zero? How's your life? You want to be able to say, look, I can still live my life. So that's the thing you gotta have as a backup. But once you have that backup, your life will be okay. Then I would do startups much earlier.
I like
But
that.
there's there's a balance to that.
Yeah.
Too early without experience, you're gonna guarantee to fail and you're gonna crash into a wall. So try to avoid that. So do have the backup plan. Yeah.
Okay, my least favorite narrative, the thing I hate the most that gets shared in crypto is this idea that you have this finite period to make it. And if the GCR famous tweet, you have a couple years after college to hyper gamble into elite status, or you're stuck in the permanent underclass forever. And I think this is part of the psychology that fuels the 17-second hold time on Solana. And I have to hit the hero god trade, or I'm stuck as a wage cuck for the rest of my life. How do you think about how much time the younger generation has to make it?
You have a lot of time. So I'm the typical counterexample of what you just described. I started Binance when I was 40, so I'm 48 right now. So I spent the first 17 years of work in my work life doing different things. I was successful. I was a good coder. I was a good developer. I became a manager, in a large organization, but it took me. You're never too late. There's a misconception that many all the founders are very young. The average founders are quite old, actually,
Yeah.
like 40 plus. But I would say you also take quite a number of failures to become successful. Doing startups and all these new things are really hard. So I think you can start early. You want to try things as early as possible, but you want to manage your risk and make sure you don't crush really, really hard. You can fail, but you're going to be able to bounce back. But also don't be overly desperate or eager. Um, we have seen failures where it was because of founders' mentality. They want to become really successful really, really quickly. They're smart guys, but they're too quick, right? Yeah.
So this is why I like your story. Is you're sort of the antithesis of you have to make it when you're 19 or you're fucked.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you go after this. This is basically the last thing I want to ask you is I want to ask, where do you see the crypto media thing going? And I want to ask if you have any advice for the type of stuff that I'm doing. The stream,
Yeah.
I run a media company in crypto. You interface with a lot of people who do media in crypto. Like, where do you see that going, and how do you win the hardest as somebody trying to dominate that scene?
Yeah. So I think, well, number one is I think traditional media is going to be gone. So that industry is going to be completely revamped. And social media is going to be big. And within social media, there's many, many independent small media. And some of them will not be so small. Some of them will have like tens, millions, or even hundreds of millions of followers, etc. They will have pretty strong voices, and as long as you do a good job. So I think also the world is getting smaller. Before, every media is per country. In the future, I think this live stream is probably watched by people from 100 different countries, right? So and then crypto enables micropayments. So people will want to watch per episode. Like they want to pay like 10 cents or 0.1 cents per for some episodes, etc., etc. As long as you have a large enough followership, you make very good money, I think. And then you can do sponsorship deals, etc. I think right now the world lacks, or the world needs strong credible news sources, and the traditional media is just failing that. So this is a great opportunity, in my opinion. Yeah.
I love it. And shout out to Counterparty and everyone that helped make the stream possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, to sort of wrap, like, I tried really hard, Mr. CZ. I didn't want to glaze you, but when I started doing this streaming, doing this media, I mean, we spent a lot of time asking the question, how do we get to the point where we get CZ on the stream eventually? And you kind of came on at the perfect time when everything's pretty crazy. So at like human to human, thank you for coming on. Like, as someone that's in crypto, I'm obviously a fan, and I'm
Yeah.
rooting for what you're doing. Success of BNB, success of everything on top of it. Is there anything you want to wrap with? Like, anything that you're excited about, anything that you're working on, anything that you want to shout out, anything that you want to shill that you think people should pay attention to? Like, where are you sort of at right now?
Sure. I mean, I don't have much to add. I think, look, this crypto industry is never going to be a smooth ride. There's always going to be a lot of challenges. There will be some setbacks. There'll be some issues. I think the strong founders, the strong projects, the strong communities go through these issues, right? So there are issues that will come, and then we as a community will address them the best way we can. I can tell you personally, I faced some pretty difficult issues in my life. I've really good times and really really tough times. So, but I think, look, we are here. We want to do the right. As long as everyone's doing the right thing, we're not hurting anyone. We're trying to help. We're not doing any fraud, anything like that. Then we continue to build the industry. You can do memes. You can do utility tokens. You can do tokenized securities. There's many different areas, which is actually really good. So I think I'm a builder. So I strongly believe as long as we continue to build, this industry will continue to grow, or this industry will continue to grow regardless, because there are builders out there, because this is a new technology that's much better than the technologies we had before for money. So I'm very bullish, and I think this week is a pretty rough week. It's like really bouncy week. But I look, next week when we look back, everything will be fine, and this will just be a blip, and things will be better. Yeah.
CZ, you're the GOAT, bro. I'm happy you're back on Twitter. You're like our like optimistic unk that like holds it down for everyone. So thank you
Thanks.
for coming on. Honestly, it was a fucking pleasure. I'm honored,
Yeah.
and we're rooting for you, man. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Michael. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Dude, of course. You're the truth, man. Have a good one. Peace.
All right. Cheers. Yeah. Bye bye.